How did you guys find yesterday's session? Was it good? Was it useful?
Yes, it was great.
Nice.
Yeah, it was. It was very good,
Wow.
and I
It was
learned a lot.
amazing, ma.
That's great.
Yes,
I'm
ma.
happy
It
to
was
hear that.
a very impactful one. I cannot forget the PICO formula.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. That's great. That's great to hear. I mean, the whole purpose of this is really just to help you guys, learn how to do like meaningful research, right? And I feel like that PICO, I even reviewed it myself. It will help you to be able to know what is important, right? And research is very, I feel like people don't appreciate the importance of research. Like I told you, like I completed my MBA at Johns Hopkins University. And you guys know Johns Hopkins is the best school for healthcare. You'll find undergrads and beyond all of this research thing, my hope is that we are able to infuse in you guys confidence because I want everybody in this training, after this session, be very confident. If you are doing a research about cancer, right? You are spending like 8 weeks of your time researching and writing the paper. You've become a subject matter expert. So if anybody asks you any question on cancer or on that specific field, you should be able to speak with confidence, speak like you know it, write articles about this, right? And so in the final session of this training, right, we are going to train you on how to be present, how to build your professional presence, how to begin to track your career, how to, set yourself in motion, how to be confident, even go to your Ministry of Health, right? The Ministry of Health in Malawi and say, okay, I've done a research in cancer. I have done a I have done a research in breast cancer. Right, I'm going to write an email to the head of breast cancer unit in Malawi and say, I want to sit with you and tell you what I've learned. Even if they don't pay you, right? You're building momentum, you're building track record. And I'm hopeful that this is going to be the case because when I was in my undergrad, I didn't have that confidence. Like, not like I was confident in my class, I was confident in school, but like you find an undergrad 18-year-old here in the US and you see the way they talk, you'll be like, what's the difference between me that grew up in Nigeria or me that grew up in Africa and somebody else? There's no difference. That's the truth. There's really no difference between what they have, what they know, than you. So I just want you to work on this journey. Make sure you join the classes early, stay on track, and you definitely be grateful that you had this opportunity. I think our guest has joined. Hi, Seto. Are you here? Okay. All right.
Hey, isn't it?
Perfect. So
How are
thank
you today?
yes, I'm doing well. So we are going
Thank
to
you. Thank you for having me.
wait for the others to join. We have like 6 minutes, but before we get started, I think it only makes sense to is everyone on the call? I think everyone's on the call.
Is my voice clear now?
Oh yeah, yeah. But your background,
Okay.
like, is there a way the
Oh,
light
okay.
is reflecting on your face?
Sorry,
It's
let me
okay.
see what I can do about
Yeah.
that. It's
Yeah.
better now. Let me see if
Yeah.
I can find something a better part.
Mm-hmm. Are there vet medicine students? Because I think I reviewed a number of vet medicine applications, right? Is there any vet medicine already on the call? Anybody studying veterinary medicine on the call? If you are, okay. So I don't think
Hmm.
we've joined yet. We had currently we're 21 people. I'm hoping that people join in the process of this training. Yeah, we can get started. Tolu Lokbe is from vet medicine. Okay, perfect. Okay, great, great, great. This is very important because at the end of this training, we're going to be pairing you up with people like Seto to guide you in your career because Seto is in vet medicine. He he finished from vet medicine. So the goal of this, right, is really just to set you on track for your life, right? I know that it's not everybody that's going to win the grant, but beyond the money, beyond the little mini grant we are giving, it's the exposure, right? I feel like exposure is everything in life, right? There are many things I did not know when I was in pharmacy school that I wish I knew. There were many opportunities I did not find. Like I'm grateful because I was very exposed. I felt like I was exposed at that level. But coming here, coming to the third world, like the developed nation, I realized that exposure is what matters, right? And that's the gifts and the HSB team will give you. this exposure, you need to know about how can I, do better? How can I position myself competitively to students all over the world? That's the exposure we'll be giving you on this track. I just want you to stay committed, right? And, even after the session, even after our two weeks training, if you want any guidance, feel free to just reach out, reach out to me, reach out to Ebon, reach out to any one of us, and we'll definitely, set you on track for your career. So yeah, I think we are almost at time. Yesterday's session was a very interestful, impactful session. I myself, I learned. When I was in final year in pharmacy, 400 level pharmacy school, I loved research, right? I used to call myself research girl. And so I started a brand that I was just doing basic research, telling people about what is happening in the world, telling people about what's happening, in different fields. And healthcare research is a very green area in Africa that we've not tapped into. And this is why we started this grand challenge. So at this moment, I would like to read the bio of our guest speaker. Sorry, let me pin him also. So our guest today's session is Seto Ogunleye, and I'm going to read his bio briefly. Seto Charles Ogunleye is a veterinary researcher specializing in microbiology, molecular biology, and immunology. He's currently a postdoctoral researcher at the University of Pennsylvania, where his work focuses on developing novel bispecific T-cell engagers and bispecific antibodies for treating canine cancer. Seto holds a PhD in veterinary medical science from Mississippi State University, USA, and as well as a Master's of Veterinary Public Health and a Doctor of Veterinary Medicine from the University of Ibadan, Nigeria. He has academic and industrial-based research experiences in infectious diseases, molecular techniques, and bioanalytical essays. Seto has authored over 30 scientific publications. You should be clapping by now. Contributed to antimicrobial and vaccine discovery efforts and is actively engaged in mentoring and scientific leadership within veterinary and microbiology communities. Can you just give a virtual clap to our guest? Because just reading his bio, it is a lot. Veterinary medicine, cancer, biology, antimicrobial resistance, publications, 30 publications, and he's really, really the best person to speak on today's topic on writing an abstract and research that gets you noticed. So please, let's just give him a virtual clap. Let's welcome our guest. Thank you so much, Seto, and over to you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much for having me. Hi, it's my pleasure to speak to you guys. I mean, to say the little I know. Please feel free to stop me anywhere to ask questions. And of course, I'm nowhere an expert, truly, to speak on this subject matter. I'm just going to be sharing some of my personal experience, some of the techniques I've used, and I hope we have some good fun together. So, I'm going to be covering just tell you a little bit about myself. I think there's no point repeating that. Izini has already done a lot about that. Then we just jump straight to abstract, the introduction. Why does it really matter? Is it really important for you to pay attention to that? What are the useful components of abstract, the formatting tips? What are the common mistakes you can make that can significantly reduce your chances of having acceptance? And then if we have the time, we probably will talk a little about getting ready for conference calls. I mean, if your abstract gets submitted, what else? Are you going to be accepted or rejected? And if you're accepted, are you going to be going for the conference or not? And then we'll talk about some practical tips. I'll share some examples along the line. I try to make sure that I will have a lot of examples that I'll be sharing as we go on so that it will be more interesting. And then, of course, we'll have questions and answers. But just like I said, if you have questions midway, please feel free to stop me and ask your questions. As Disney said, no need of repeating that. My journey has been a lot of research, apparently. And I think I usually say I'm one of the very lucky ones that I've been fortunate to be in and around vet school for a very long time. So my DVM, master's, PhD, postdoc has always been, I've been in one vet schools or the other. So straight
Preseto, please, if you don't
to,
mind, I would really appreciate if you could go back because I feel like a lot of them might
okay,
not understand the translation. You know, you went from vet medicine school. Some people will just go in
okay,
and work as a vet doctor.
okay.
Can you tell us what
So,
informed your decisions to move and all those?
okay, okay, maybe I should start from why did I choose vet? I think it's one of the most important questions that I don't know if they still ask a lot of people in vet school now, but by the time I got to vet school, it was a major question they usually ask because as at the time I got to vet school, internationally, I think 85% of people in vet school didn't want to study vet. So they wanted something else, but vet chose them. So they usually say, vet chose me. I didn't choose vet. But I was one of the people that actually chose vet. So a lot of people didn't know until when they saw my JAMB registration. Or like, oh, really, you chose vet? Yes. I knew I wanted to be a doctor, but I didn't know early which one I wanted to be. But I was fortunate to know that I wanted to be something different from the conventional person. So I took the route of the veterinary medicine. So, but when I got to vet school, at the University of Bath, of course, I wanted to go to only two schools, either UI or OAU. I knew I wanted to do research by the time I got to my third to fourth year because of the kind of curiosity I had started developing, the importance, the impact of veterinary science to the human health, the intercept between the human health and animal health, and then how to make a very good translational impact where I could be as a person, not just as a vet, but being as a person, make impact as a veterinarian and then affecting human health. So vet gave me such a very wonderful platform. So I started my vet school. Of course, there was strikes. Eventually, we were able to resume. I think late 2010, of course, passed through and the likes, a lot of strike. Eventually, graduated 2016, and then immediately after my vet school, of course, in my vet school, I started doing research. So my DVM research was on molecular, it was the first exposure to molecular biology I had. I worked on reticular endothelitis virus. But what was very fascinating about that research was that it was the first time I was knowing certain possibilities. So I detected a virus inside a virus. So I detected reticular endothelitis virus inside Fowlpox virus. So apparently, there are viruses that are big enough, like Fowlpox virus, like Marex, that can accommodate other viruses. So, reticular endothelitis virus, which belongs to the same family with HIV virus, was one of those viruses that could potentially integrate themselves into Fowlpox virus, a large virus, and then they can start causing problems. So using broiler chicken in Nigeria, we were able to get samples, clinical samples, did the molecular detection, and then of course histopathology. And that was really interesting because we saw a whole lot of positive detection of the virus. And it's very important to veterinary science because there is this, if you know a lot of things about vaccine, about vaccination, purpose vaccine is also one of the very routine one you do in veterinary science in poultry. So now people have problem because you vaccinate against fowlpox and then your animals still have pox. So then you start asking questions, is it the vaccine that is not effective? Are you not vaccinating very well? So we figured out from that experiment that it could definitely be contamination. So maybe during production, there was an introduction of the reticular endothelitis virus, the lytic virus, incorporated into the pox. So the lesion you are seeing are not the lesions of fowlpox. They are actually lesions of reticular endothelitis viruses. And of course, because it causes immune problems, you have your animal being susceptible to all the viruses. Immediately after that, of course, went for NYC. I did a little bit of practice, a lot of private practice. I started in State Nigeria. was a very interesting time. I wasn't paid by the government, but I was able to do some private practice. Like I used to say, my story is one funny one because I completed my NYC on a Thursday. I resumed my master's on the Monday. So it was no break. So I started on my master's, and because I think I wanted to do something that is more translational, so I chose the route of veterinary public health. And I still try as much as possible to design a project that it's in line of microbiology, but now has a huge impact of or prospect of One Health. I decided to. I initially wanted to work on virus. I initially wanted to work on rabies. As would have it, I was not allowed to. Where I didn't get the opportunity to work with the supervisor I wanted, I had someone else, and I wanted to design what I could work in alignment with the mentor. So I chose to work on tilapia, which was one of the few species of fish that people really do some research on. And I decided to go to the route of the bacteriology and the food safety aspect. And of course, most important, because you know, food safety is an important aspect of One Health. So I initially set out for um, Salmonella and E. coli. And then by the time I got to a very late stage of my research, I noticed in some of my that I was seeing some colonies that are not conventional as far as phenotypically, they are not like Salmonella. Then I started reading, and coincidentally, it happens to be the time I started looking out for PhD opportunities. And as I was reading about my PI saw that he had worked on Hydrocella picicida, which is another species of Hydrocella in the family of Hydrocella or something, Hydrocella. So I was like, oh, this is interesting. Then I started reading about it, and I saw that Hydrocella tada and Salmonella actually have the same phenotypic appearance on the egg outlet. And then the only way for you to distinguish between them would be for you to go into the biochemical characterization. So I was like, oh, this is interesting. So I decided to characterize it. And I figured out that actually some of my colonies were Hydrocella tada. So then my project changed entirely from Salmonella and E. coli to Hydrocella tada, Salmonella and E. coli. And I think, to the best of my knowledge, that was like the first, one of the very, very few research, one of the very few work that had been done in Nigeria, concentrating on tilapia that isolated Hydrocella tada. So it was very fascinating, and I didn't know the importance of the project until after I think about less than a year after I published that work, and I saw the paper was actually cited by FAO. I was like, really? So it's one of my well cited first author paper. I mean, I don't think we have the time for it, but I usually still wish I had published it even in a better journal, added more research. And of course, immediately after my master's, graduated 2019, December. But of course, convocation was 2020. Immediately moved to the US, started my PhD, work on Listeria, still foodborne, did a lot of molecular biology, a lot of cloning, a lot of some assays. And I also had the opportunity to go to the industry, to go to Merck, which is one of the leading pharmaceutical companies in the world. I did some very interesting work. And now I completed my PhD. I defended November, and but I was still in the school. I didn't graduate yet, so I graduated this May. But I started my postdoc March, which was 2 months before I officially graduated from my PhD. And so far, I'm trying to learn something new, trying to do immunology. So now I'm trying to work on developing immunotherapy for dog cancers, which is translatable to human cancer. The cancer I'm working with actually affects human B-cell lymphoma specifically. So we are hoping that our outcome will be able to be translatable to human. Sorry, that's very long.
It's
myself.
very long, but
So
before you
what
move
is
on, I
the
feel
need?
like one thing Seto said that struck me was how when he was looking for his PI, right? It was a research he did during his undergrad, right? That actually helped him to get his PhD. So this is very important. I hope you are listening, how very important your research is and why you should take it very serious. And he also said something, if he had known, he would have published it in a journal, right? That would have even been more professional because even right now, he's still using that research he did in his undergrad. Thank you for sharing the story. Over to you, Seto.
Yeah, thank you. Why the story about abstract? Why does it matter? Why does it matter? The end goal of you writing, submitting an abstract is for you to get yourself here on the stage. It's for you to get noticed. It's for you to stand out. It's for you to have an encounter that you can be remembered. And then that is easy. That the other part of it, which I think is a good news, is also an opportunity for you to start all over. So if you get an abstract submitted and it was rejected, that's not the end of it. You still have opportunity to start all over. So abstract purpose is just for you to be able to communicate your science to people. Let people know what you're doing. Let people know what breadth, what width you are walking around. You don't have to be the best in your field. You don't have to be the best in the game. You just need to be able to communicate your science. And abstract is a way for you to be able to do that in a short, concise manner. So what we today, we're just going to be able to run through what are those few ingredients that you have to consider when you're writing your abstract. How do you even do it? What are the things you should try to avoid? How early do you need to start preparing? Do you even need to prepare at all? So how do you get started? How do you proofread? How do you submit? And of course, possibly, it's a win if you get accepted. Trust me, there are thousands, possibly hundreds of thousands of applicants. There are some conferences that, on the average, they have maybe 20,000 people that attend. So you know that for such conference, like one of the largest conferences in the world is American Society for Microbiology. That conference has thousands of people per year. So it gives you an idea that hundreds of thousands of people would have submitted abstract, and a lot of people would have been rejected. As a matter of fact, the first abstract I ever submitted was rejected. I submitted that for ASM, and it was rejected. But I still did what? I still tried all over. So it means that for you to get accepted, you have gone through certain review process, certain stages, and then a committee or group of people have been able to say, okay, this person who says what we can have on our platform. Because don't forget, the essence of those conferences, of the acceptance, is for you to be able to standardize, for you to be able to get to this stage and communicate your science. So, briefly, we have two forms of abstracts that possibly you can think of. We have the informative one that you have to be able to break it down. Themes, result, methods, result, conclusion. Some people, so some abstract will ask you for keywords, and some are just descriptive in just a paragraph. You just need to put up everything together. But one key thing that you must pay attention to, that in any abstract that you must have, will be your background statement, your background statement, problem statement and rationale, the aim and objective, and how did you do whatever you did, the results and the conclusions, whatever you can call implications. So the idea is you have an abstract that you are using to communicate the background, the introduction to whatever you do. Conventionally, you call it introduction of whatever you are doing. I'm doing this, and this research. Why am I doing it? Why is it important? That's the problem statement. For example, Listeria, I worked on Listeria. Listeria is one of the most important pathogens in the US. It's one of the leading causes of deaths due to foodborne. This is the problem. That is the problem. So now, how do you come that, oh, because I have been able to identify that is a problem in the United States, what have I been able to identify that I want to do in that project? So because Listeria is very important, it kills people, especially people that have foodborne illness. So now I want to have a research, or let me say I've designed a research that aims at producing, let's say, therapeutic against Listeria. Okay, that's interesting. And you see the progression. Of course, your introduction, I've been able to talk about what Listeria is. Now I've been able to talk about the problem. It affects the US. Now, what do I aim? I want to cure Listeria. I want to cure listeriosis rather. Then my objective will be, how do I want to do that? So this is the point where you have to be able to concisely talk about how you've been able to perform such experiment. And then you'll be able to go to your results. Okay, after I designed so and so experiment, I was able to now get these results. But don't make the mistake of introducing new subject after that point. You don't want to talk about a result you never spoke about in your method. For example, you never mentioned that you did maybe molecular detection of listeria. And in your results, you are showing data of molecular detection. That is already a foul play. Conclusion, based on whatever you are finding, not based on someone else's data, not based on what someone else has done, but based on what you've been able to do in short, concise word. So the purpose of an abstract is for you to be able to make an impression. Like I said, it's for you to be able to stand out, to create an impression that stands forever. So it's an opportunity for you to get people to have impression. And now, bringing it to the form part, I said the method you have used. So now an abstract actually is the summary of, like, maybe for example, you're doing undergrad research. You did it for a year. I know people that do maybe undergrad research for 2 years. An abstract is just a summary of everything you've done in your whole research. So let's say you did like 500 experiments. An abstract is an opportunity for you to compress all those 500 experiments into something concise, into something very, very concise in a short number of words, few number of words, which is actually very interesting, which is very, very difficult to do. So we'll still get to it. It means that abstract is not something you just wake up in the day and write. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of practicing, a lot of reading, reviewing to be able to master it. So it will be an opportunity for you to judge your writing style, because you need a good writing ability to be able to do a good justice into abstract. I mean, I've read a lot of abstract now. I've reviewed journals that from the abstract recommend rejection. Not that I don't like the person. I may not even, a lot of the reviews are blinded. You don't even know the authors. But just about reading the abstracts and this cannot go. Because it's an opportunity for you to not only showcase your research, you make impression, and then you learn and grow your writing style. And of course, it's an opportunity for you to show the relevance of whatever you are doing to the field, the relevance of your aims. How important are the aims you have been able to identify in your research? Are they really important? Are they new? Are they novel? Is it just a copy and paste thing? Or does it really contribute to the world? And then, if you have been able to identify that those things are really important, the results you have obtained, do they differ from people's opinion, what people have found out? Are they really important? And then, of course, the validity of your conclusions. This is what we're saying. Whatever you are doing in your abstract, you are trying to show the relevance of your research. How important are the questions you're asking? how have you been able to answer those questions from your result? And does your questions answer the general world problem? And it's very interesting for you to know that you can publish a paper of several pages, and that might just be the only aspect of your research that will be read. So somebody can look at your research, make an impression from the abstract, and know or decide to read your paper or not just by looking at your abstract. So it means that it's very important subject matter when it comes to the way you present your research in an abstract manner. So now to formatting. One key thing that is very, very important. The fastest way to fail, or the quickest way to fail at abstract submission, is not to pay attention to details, to pay attention to the guidelines. Yes, there are standards to abstract or to whatever, but there are specific instructions for most of the places you want to submit your abstract to. So the first key thing you want to make sure you get right is, what are the guidelines? What are the prescriptions? So what are the requirements? What are the word limits? Make sure for no reason should you exceed what there are some platform. If they say it's exactly 5,000 characters and you exceed 5,000 characters, you are, no matter how beautiful your research was or your research is, you are never going to get it. The word limit says 250 words. For no reason should you go 251. As a matter of fact, personally, I usually say, yes, abstract is very tough to get 250 words. Usually say, don't do 250. Do 249, 248, 245. Because you don't know what could have happened. Something could have technically that can increase your worth. You don't expect that, but there's some things that could happen. So always pay attention to this. Clear and direct sentences. Don't abbreviate unnecessarily. Don't just throw words, passive words. Don't just do that. Include important keywords, indexing and search. So this is an example from APA. And this is like the abstract format. And if we look at it, you see the title. So usually an abstract, they will ask you, what is your running title? That is the title of whatever you're presenting. And then maybe they give you a page number, word limit or something. And of course, one key thing you need to know in formatting abstract is there is no indentation. So there is no like paragraph, nothing like that in abstract. An abstract is typically a single paragraph document. So you don't have multiple paragraphs in your abstract. Usually, most of the places they will tell you single spaced, 1.5, double space. They're going to tell you which specific spacing you should use. They will tell you the inches requirement. They will tell you, even some platforms will tell you they will tell you the font size. These are not things anybody is going to just jump at you and say, write it this way. You have to be able to know the specific requirement of each journal. For example, ASM is entirely different from APA. APA is different from even Frontiers, different platform. Yes, different platform will have their requirement, but there are basic baseline for every abstract you come around. And of course, you have the aspect of your keywords. So be with me as we dive deeper into it. So generally, on the general scale, like I said, an abstract is a concise statement of your major elements in your research. Whatever research you've done, whatever number of years you've invested into a single research, an abstract is an opportunity for you to provide a concise summary of everything. So, like I said, it's a whole research. So now an abstract is an opportunity for you to now put a full paper, that's why I said abstract is very, very difficult. Full paper into, and you see the word limit, rarely will you see any abstract that is more than 300 words. In fact, A PhD dissertation abstract is 300 words. The maximum I've seen any abstract will ask is 300 words. In fact, some journals, some places, some platform will tell you less than that. Some journal, I think ASM, for example, uses characters. So it's not even about words. I think they use about 20,000 characters, which is less than 300 words. Some will tell you 150 words, some 200, some 230. They're going to give you a range, but rarely will you see anyone beyond 300 words. The thing, even 300 words, 300 words is not a lot until when you start writing, especially when you have something to communicate. So an abstract will be able to be the one that can stand alone, that has a standalone quality. So, like I said, it's something someone will be able to read and make sense out of it. Do I want to read this guy's paper or not? Do I want to call this person to come and give a talk or not? Do I want to invite this person or not? So it's an opportunity for you to communicate those things you've written and then communicate it intelligibly to the wide audience. Because in fact, one key thing about abstract is you also want to be, it's part of those mistakes that I'm going to talk about. You don't put in too much jargons. Because an abstract should be something that someone that is not even in your field will be able to sit down with and read and understand. So you don't want to make it complex. So one of the key things you have to note is abstract, like I said, no indentation. Abstract don't have references. Abstracts don't have tables or figures. They have very few abbreviations. You want to try as much as possible to avoid them, especially when you don't have to use them repeatedly. If you have to use the same word or the same words repeatedly, yes, you may want to try to abbreviate the first one. Of course, you have properly defined them and then use the abbreviation. Conclusion is based on the data you have presented within the abstract. Bring a result, or you don't bring a discussion or a conclusion based on another research that you have not presented. So your conclusion must be based on the data you have presented. For example, you said listeria, you did this, you did that, you did cloning, you accepted the culture of the bacteria in media A, media B, media C, and the like. And then during your conclusion, you are writing about molecular biology. That is out of line. It gives an audience or the person, a reviewer, an impression that you don't know what you're doing. So abstract is that you can master and it's developed. If you don't learn it, you can never know it. If you don't learn the art, you cannot know it. So because you need the abstract to be able to, so some of the advantages that comes with you writing abstract, it helps you to be able to present your data. It's very complex, gigantic stuff you've written. We know you've done fantastic research. You spent several years developing the research, working in the lab. But the art of abstract writing helps you to now be able to know how to present complex stuff, whatever you have, as many as they appears to be, in a very short, clear, and concise manner. And not only does it help you to read, to present, it also helps you in reading, especially reading other people's abstract, giving opinion about other people's opinion or other people's output. It also helps you in conducting adequate research. It helps you research, and of course, it helps you to write better abstracts for your future publications, and of course, helps you to condense reports because, like I said, abstract is like a summary of everything. So it's more like you're writing a report. You're writing different things, different aspects of a report of a very large or gigantic document. One way or the other, I've been able to tip in some of the aspects. So how do you go about it? Don't forget, always remember that it's a very concise part of your science topic. What are the research questions? What are the questions you're asking? What are the methods? What are the results you've gotten? What are the conclusions you're taking out of it? So the first thing is you want to have a good idea by yourself of your science. What have I done? Do I even understand what I've done? Do I even understand my own research? Do I understand the result I've obtained? Do I know the implication? The truth is, most of these things don't just come or just jump on you. It takes time. It takes a lot of reading, and that's why reading and reading over and over is one of the skills you must be able to develop. I understand it's a new age. At the time we were looking for admission, the time we were trying to do research, there were little avenues for AI. But now we know that you can use AI for a lot of things. But trust me, by the time you do that, if you truly still do not know what you're doing, those gaps will be reviewed even in your AI. You must know your research. You have read your research from the back, from the front to the back. You know every details of it. So if you know what you've done, you'll be able to write what is needed. You'll be able to pick out the points that you want to communicate. And of course, it's after you've been able to read through whatever you have that you now be able to now come up with outlines of what you think will now be able to be in your abstract. So how do you start? Your title. Your title is very important. If somebody is going to read whatever you have, whatever you've been able to put together, trust me, if you don't have a good title, that is most likely going to be a flag. You want to be able to come with passion, a very, very interesting topic. Title, very short. There are different requirements. Like I said, each places you're trying to apply to will have their requirements. What is their requirements? Some of the titles, I think the range is about maybe like 10 to like 25 words. You make sure that you don't want to go beyond the limits. You want to make sure you have concise topic, concise title that will not take forever for people to understand. So now, remember we talked about you have your introduction, you have your, sorry about that, you have your introduction, you have the objective, you have your result and conclusion. So now, my first approach is when you are writing, for example, started out, my learning process was more of write as much as you can. Even if the word limit says 300, if you can. If you can do 1,000, do it. Don't misquote me. I'm not saying submit 1,000. I said, even if you can write 1,000, that makes it perfect. Write 1,000 words. That will be your first draft. Usually what I say is keep that draft because you can always still need it. So now you can now work on drafts you've created and then work around it. Increase the quality, summarize, view over and over, and then to be able to come up with 300 words. So the advantage is this: when you have 900 words, for example, or 1,000 words, and you try to thin that all the way down to 300, what you do is by the time you come up with 300, you're coming out with the best of the quality you've been able to get from the 900. So in a cap, you want to make sure your introduction is between 1 to 2 sentences. Like we said, it's concise. It's a limit of 150 to 300 words. It's very short. So you don't want long, overly long sentences. You want to make sure your sentences are very, very concise, short, right to the point. I'm going to show you some examples. Short, concise. Don't forget concise. Concision is key. You want to make sure that 1 to 2 sentences is fine. You don't want to write 5 sentences as an introduction. You don't want to do that. You don't want to write your introduction to be 150 words out of 300 words. And don't forget, you have your introduction. Okay, let me keep this in. Your introduction, don't forget, your introduction actually contains about 3 parts. There is the background of your subject, there is the problems, and there is the aims. So it means that in that 1 to 2 sentences of your introduction, you are talking about the background, You're talking about the problem and you're talking about the aim of your research. They are not different aspects of your abstract. Your introduction contains three parts. We can call it like subtopic. So you can see background, context of your research. Why is it important? Why is it important? And the objective. Those are still, they are all concerned in your introductory part. So you want to make sure that you are as concise as possible. And methods. Your method is what? How did I do the research? Like I said, I have identified the problems. I've done the research. I think I didn't say this, but I do. I think I remember I mentioned that your abstract is a summary. Okay, so this is what happens. Your abstract is actually the last thing you write of your research. But your abstract is the first impression of anyone's on your project. It means that if anybody's going to read your research, the first thing, the first encounter they have about your research will be your abstract. But your abstract is written last. So you don't write your abstract before your research. You write your abstract after your research. So your method is saying, and that's why they don't call it methodology. I don't know if you guys have the clear understanding or the difference between methodology and method. Some people use it interchangeably, but methodology is more of intentions. Method is more of this is what I've done. So you want to show what you've done concisely. I collected sample A, I put it in sample B, I cultured in incubator A, I did this, I did that, I mixed it together, I did this, I did that. What you did, what did I do? I did this, I did this, I did this. Those are what you want to do in your method. And then, what are the findings? Okay, so after I put my bacteria in agar 1, they died. That's my first result. When I put it in agar 2, they survived. That's my result. When I mix everything together, they bloomed. That's my finding. When I did this, so your result is what you found out, not what someone else found out, what you found out. What are the outcomes, direct outcomes? And then what's your conclusion based on what okay, now because I mixed bacteria A and bacteria B together, they died. Don't forget, I mixed them together. That's my method. They died. That's my result. What's my conclusion? My conclusion is it appears A and B cannot survive together. I didn't say A and B will kill something. I didn't make up any other result that I didn't demonstrate. I am saying my result. I'm demonstrating my result based on what I have, not a data outside. Is a direct correlation of what I've done. And it's all this I've just said can be summarized as what the author did. What did you do? How did you do it? That's the method. What you found. It's your outcome. What is the conclusion? What can I take home? Now I have done the bacteria, put it together, they died, they did this. What is my conclusion? What can I communicate to the world? And this is like a screenshot of something that is very interesting that I saw on one of my study materials that I think was very interesting, was able to still break down all these things we talk about. What are the background hypotheses, the design and your research method, the result, how do you talk about it, then the conclusion. So I hope I've not confused anyone. So now, there is one key thing that is very important. There is no island of a person. And that's why I brought this in. And I think that's also one of the goals of this session. Mentorship is critical. Like I said, the first abstract I ever wrote got rejected. And trust me, I wrote it myself. I didn't ask anybody for help. I think I did not even pay attention to all those word limits, this and that. It was rejected. And in the same period, I made correction, I consulted people corrected, and I submitted new versions. And they got accepted. Mentorship is key. So that's why when you have when you're doing research, you have a mentor, you have a research supervisor, you have a professor, you have an advisor that helps you to look at your research. So mentorship is key because a mentor is going to be the one to give you direction. He's going to give you the training. He's going to give you the support. What you don't know, the support you need to succeed is your mentor that's going to be able to give you that. The mentor is going to be the one to motivate you. The truth is, not all your abstract will get accepted, no matter how beautiful they are. Some abstract will get rejected, even if you are writing them well. So your mentor knows how to tell you, even okay, to motivate you not to give up. And of course, importantly, your mentor will be able to help you set your goal. Because without setting a goal, the chances of you making a good success is very slim. And your mentor is one that will be able to help you to join you in celebrating your success. So attention to what the guidance of your mentor is or her will be very instrumental to how far you'll be able to go. They will able to review your abstract. They will give you suggestions. Many times your abstract, your professor will tell you, go and write it all over. Many times they will delete everything you've written. They will rewrite everything. If you don't have a mentor, you will not be able to get that. You just submit whatever you have and you say, oh, I just get a rejection. What is happening? Is it village people? Is it this or that? It's because you don't have somebody that looks to whatever you are trying to present. So there is an important aspect of mentorship. And of course, once a mentor is able to prove it, of course, don't forget, a mentor is someone that have gone through the journey, the same journey you're trying to go through, the same places you're trying to go. These are people that have gone through them. So they'll be able to help you through that. So these are some of the examples of abstracts. So I try to bring out these two case studies. Let's look at them. Let's think about them. Let's discuss them together and see what we've been talking about. First, the first one, which is to my left, I think that should be possibly to your right. I don't know. But this guy, he says, this research investigates the impact of mindfulness meditation on stress reduction in a sample of adults 5 to 45. The study aims to explore whether regular mindfulness practice contributes to a significant decrease in a self-reported stress level. Can you see? This is the purpose. This is why this guy did the research. That's why I said your research, your introductory part is going to be able to communicate the purpose, the problem, and then the aim. Why are you doing the research? And then it now goes to the method. Say a randomized control trial. A randomized control trial is a sampling method. Was conducted over a 10-week period involving 120. The experimental group engaged in mindfulness meditation, blah 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 blah. This guy described how exactly he performed the research. He used the method, which is called randomized clinical trials, randomized control trial. He collected samples from social number of people, and then he did questionnaire, he did self-reporting, and then the results. It says statistical analysis reviewed a statistically significant decrease in stress levels among participants in the mindfulness meditation group compared to the control group. Participants reported enhanced. So if you look at the result aspect, it was a direct input, direct output of the method. We did this. We collected sample from 120 people. This was what we found. And what are the conclusions? The study provides evidence supporting the effectiveness of mindfulness meditation. So this guy did not say that our result confirmed that the heart rate of people were good or poor. No, this guy says the study reveals that the effectiveness of mindfulness meditation is this and this based on what you found. So you see the logical arrangement. We talk from the introduction to the method, how the study was done. What are the results we got and what are the implications? And secondly, let's look at this. This on, I think it's about economy. Same thing. He said the growing economic resemblance of spouse has contributed to rising equality by increasing the number of couples in which there are too high or too low any partners. That is the subject matter. That is the problem. The dominant explanation of this trend is increased associative mating. Previous research has primarily relied on cross-sectional data and thus has been unable to distinguish changes in associative mating from changes in the division of spouses paid labor, a potentially key mechanism giving dramatic identifying the problem. They identified, of course, gave us a broad introduction, and then now talked about the problem. And now we used data. Can you see? We used data from this, and this. That is the method. That is how we conducted our research. And then the results. If you look at the results, I don't have all the time to jump into it. I still have a couple of slides more. So you look at it that it is like a synchrony, a good transition is very important. The implication of what I found out is this. So now we've been able to go through what are the components of abstract, how do you even go about it, what are the strategies that can help you. These are common mistakes that can get your abstract never getting accepted. We're going to start from this part. Too much background. Like I said, you don't want to write background of two of or 4-5 sentences out of 150 or 300 words. You don't want to write too much of background that overcrowds the intent of your abstract. Vague languages. You just throw words that will be very difficult to understand. Don't forget. And that's why I intentionally brought in the aspect of AI. Those are some of the ways you can point out when an individual doesn't know what they do. They use primarily AI. AI is good at throwing words, throwing grammar, but no content. So when you use a lot of vague words, vague languages, you're going to throw yourself off the balance, ignoring the word limits. Like I said, for no reason should you go over this word limit. And of course, jargons. A lot of scientific jargon will not allow you go far into it. People, if somebody not in your field will not be able to understand what you have written, or you won't be able to do it. You must be able to simplify what you have as much as possible. And some other aspect, which are also very important, non-compliance to guidelines is still part of these days. Plagiarism, you just copy someone else. Come on, it's a global society, it's a global community. People know what people have done, especially in science. You don't want to plagiarize. Misleading title, your title is saying something else and your abstract is saying something else. It's a red flag. Inaccurate abstract. You just put in things anyhow. Incomplete introduction to work done. You wrote the introduction, you're trying to reduce the word limit and you didn't put good information. And that's why we say concise. It must be concise. The efficient method section, if you don't state the method you used, come on, it's not going to go far. Share result or omitted result is not going to go. Inconsistent discussion. If you are discussing A, when you are giving a result for B, it's not going to get your abstract accepted. So now I try to bring up a strong abstract. That was a weak abstract. We've been able to analyze these guys, this abstract, so there's no point going to it. But look at this other abstract. So you can know that this is a very wrong one. This is something very weak. Nobody is going to accept it. Say, in this study, I will investigate the role of local government play in climate governance. No pattern, nothing. No strategy, nothing. And this, for example, you just say this study looks at disease in animal and result will be discussed. How is the result being discussed? What result are you discussing? But a good abstract, a strong abstract will be the one that will be able to tell you that we investigated this, we did this, and this because of this and this, and we got so answer. In addition to some of the tips I've shared, you have to start early. An abstract is not something the deadline is tomorrow, you wake up today and write. No, you don't want to do that. You want to start early. You want to start early. Start early. Like I said, start with maybe like 1,000 words and turn it out. Summarize. And like I said, mentorship is key. Ask for feedback. Send it to mentors, send it to colleagues, ask them to make corrections for you, ask them to make suggestions, make memorable conclusion. Your conclusion must be very important. is very important. You want to make a very memorable conclusion. Don't use passive words. Don't use passive words. Don't use passive words. Just active words. I did this. I did this. Clear terms. And then you want to make sure that whatever you're presenting is aligned. That is why it is important. Is in alignment with current trend, with what is happening in science. I don't want to talk about something of 50 years ago. Is it important? Is it relevant to now? So that's why your abstract must be able to line up with current events. And like I said, that is, it starts from the whole of your dissertation, thesis, research, and it comes all the way down to abstract. So there is a lot that has gone through your brain into making your research. You've chosen your topic, you make that plan, you've done research, you work with supervisor, you've structured, and you've done a lot of literature. Abstract is the last thing, like I said, abstract is the last thing you write, and it's a summary of everything you've done. And as you do it, you want to make sure that you start early. You don't want to do it overnight, the day before deadline. So, like I said, it's a training. It's a training that you must be able to go through. Train yourself. Train yourself. It's an art. You have to write. Train yourself with writing, reading. Read published materials. Read a lot of papers. I know many of the time, I think we don't really teach much of that in undergraduate courses in Africa. I don't know. A lot of things might have changed, but those are some of the things that I feel were really difficult for us growing up. You need to learn it. You guys have a lot of opportunities now. You have internet access, you have a lot of opportunities, you have platforms that are helping, guiding, mentoring people. Read a lot, read public people, practice, learn to write a lot, practice. Even you don't have to submit it, just keep writing, ask for help from mentors, from colleagues, attend classes, trainings. There are several trainings, attend trainings, and always double check whatever you've done before you submit. I came up with some of these writing resources. Some of these websites are fantastic. Check them. They have samples of abstract. They have guidance on how to go through writing your abstract. Study them. It's part of your assignment. Don't expect someone else to do most of this thing for you. Do it yourself. And I'm glad to take a question. I hope I didn't exceed my time. So I'm glad to take questions. I don't know if there are questions that have been dropped already. Please.
Yes, sir. There is question, sir.
Okay.
Firstly, sir, I will start by appreciating your efforts. This session will, inshallah, be of use to us, especially those of us that are undergraduate. So we are still on our project. Sir, my question is on abstract, sir.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I can hear you. Just go ahead.
My question, actually, we have gained a lot on abstract because you have explained how to do the background, objective, methods, results, and conclusion. So, sir, my question is based on keywords. You know, sir, sometimes when they publicize a paper in an internet or ResearchGate or somewhere, they used to involve keywords. So, sir, I just need a small explanation on that.
Yeah, thank you. So the simple answer to that is you want to make sure that your keywords are chosen directly from the content of your abstract.
Okay.
For example, I worked on listeria. One of my keywords would be listeria. It means that, so the idea in keywords is that when somebody looks at your keyword, they have idea of what you're talking about.
Okay.
For example, maybe I show a story on listeria. I worked on foodborne pathogens. I worked on zoonosis and the like. So, and I have listeria, I have food safety, I have zoonosis, I have antimicrobial resistance in my keywords. Somebody without reading my full abstract would have an idea that, okay, this guy's abstract centers around listeria. It has something to do with listeria. It has something to do with zoonosis. It has something to do with antimicrobial resistance. And then by the time you are reading my full abstract, you will see all those things. So you don't come up with keywords outside what you have in your abstract. It must be concise from the content of your abstract.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. It makes sense. I understand, sir.
Yeah.
And sir, my second question is based on publication, sir. Sir, I am currently working to just comprise the prevalence of hepatitis B virus among boarding school and day school students. I am currently working on it. But sir, I don't know. I wanted to publish it after I am done. So is there a lot of tips that you can share to us, sir, for us to use and publish our own projects, sir, and to call for
Uh,
public health intervention? Thank you, sir.
yeah. The truth is this. Trust me, I think that is a very wonderful idea. That is a very wonderful goal you set for yourself. Many of the times, I think we, as undergraduates, many of the times we really don't know the importance of those publishing and the like. I say, do a fantastic job, or do a very wonderful work in your writing, especially now that you know that you want to publish your work. Trust me, what I would do is that I will start looking for papers on
Hmm.
hepatitis. I will start. One key thing you want to look out for is, where are those papers published?
Yes, sir.
Some of the papers you are reading for your project, where are they published? If you join, for example, maybe there is Journal of Hepatitis B or Hepatitis something, there is Frontiers in Molecular Biology, Frontiers in Public Health, there are several journals. Journals of something public health, there is CDC journal, there are fantastic journals that will be able to target each subject area. Those papers that you read, where are they published? It gives you an idea of where you can publish a paper.
Yeah.
So I would say start looking at those papers, look at where they are published, and then start writing. So one of the things I started doing was, when I looked at the journals and I have an idea, okay, this is the requirements. So I started formatting whatever research I'm doing based on those requirements. For example, my PhD dissertation was actually, so when you're writing PhD dissertation, people have different methods.
Yes, sir.
So for my, like, there are two methods, let me put it that way. You can write a narrative form of your dissertation, and you can write a manuscript version. I wrote a
Yes.
manuscript version. So I wrote each of my chapters as a paper, because of course I have published an aspect. So I wrote each of my chapters as a complete manuscript paper. So because of what? Because I've been able to say, okay, I want to publish my work in this journal and that journal. Then I wrote my dissertation based on the requirement of that journal. How did they arrange it? Okay, they put abstract. This is 300 words. They write the introduction. They write the method. There are some journals that, for example, their method is the last. You write the abstract, you write the introduction, you write results, discussion, and then abstract. Some journals, you write method, you write result and discussion together, and then you write conclusion. Some journal will say result and conclusion, discussion. So you must be able to know the specifics of what you want to submit, and the best way, the quickest way to do it is those papers that you are studying, that you are reading as guide for you to have your research done, where they are getting published. Even if you're not going to publish your own there, it will be easier for you to now format your own based on their requirement. I hope I've answered your questions.
Yes, sir, you have answered it. And sir, I have the last question. Sorry, sir.
Okay.
No problem.
Okay. We have
Okay,
like four people
sir,
hands raised, so be fast, be quick.
my last question, sir, is sir, undergraduate students are really facing a challenge with their research. And this challenge is just a financial challenge, because I can remember one of my friends intended to work on the dengue virus, but he later asked about the price of the kit, and they told him around 500 or 300, so he can't afford it. So my question is that, are there grants available for undergraduates that they can just apply for it and maybe get it after some times? Thank you, sir.
Yeah. I sincerely, I think, in all fairness, that is a very huge concern. I'm not gonna shy away from that. That is, and I think that's one of the goal of this session, and of course of this training. The truth is that is a very big challenge, especially for developing nations. But I'm also aware that there are actually some grants now that are targeted towards developing nation. There is RSTMA. Don't know if you know Royal College of something. I can't remember, but it's a UK funding organization that actually give competitive research grants every year. I think they give about maybe £5,000. I think about five. Of course, based on your budget, but I think they cap it at £5,000. So, but there are grants like that that would help you I mean, that you can use to get your research. There is also there is Morris Animal Foundation. I think that's for veterinarians. They also fund undergraduate research, especially in Africa. I've seen a couple of people that want it. So it's not as numerous as you would expect, in all fairness, but there are few grants, funding opportunities that are targeted towards undergraduate research. And then I think one of the cool things that you can also get in Africa is when you speak to some of your professors, some of them have funding. Some of them actually have grants that they just need someone to work with them on. So speak
Yes.
to them, even if you don't have money, you communicate with them. I know it's very tough. I spent my own money to do my research. I'm not gonna shy away from that. When I was in Africa, I did my own research, contributed money with some colleagues to do our research. It was tough. So I know that it's quite tougher. But
That is an
there are
advantage.
few definitely look for. That's why I usually say that is why you have phones. That's why you have gadgets. Forget about, see, I discuss with a lot of people. I talk to my cousin. You want to use an iPhone? I'm not saying don't use an iPhone. I have an iPhone, but I never got an iPhone until I came to the US. But I was using a mobile phone. I was using a smartphone in Nigeria. What do you do with whatever you have? Even if you are using an iPhone, I don't have problem with that. But what do you do with your phone? So instead of spending the several hours on Instagram, on TikTok, on this, on that, spend the time, invest the time into your future. Read, 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 read. You will get some of this information. There are several fundings that I never knew about until I came to the US, and they were all available for us when we're in Africa, but we never got to know them because we just didn't research about them. So spend your time, Google, like I usually say, Google is your friend. You Google and then try it.
Yeah, thank you very much. I feel like we
Thank
have
you.
some other hands. Kehinde, let's be very quick with our questions. Maybe all of us will take our questions because we are almost at time. And then Kehinde, can you come on, ask your question? If you can on your video too, feel free, and then we take the others. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Ogunleye, for the session. My question is on your slide. I think you mentioned two types of abstracts. That is informative and descriptive. And for the informative, it includes the introduction, the method, the result, and the conclusion. While the descriptive include the introduction, method, and the keywords. And it seems as if one is based on maybe on a research still in progress. Maybe that's the descriptive. So my question is that what are the peculiarities of submitting an abstract for a study still in posted that has not been concluded, and how can we go about this? Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I think the basic identification that you want to pay attention to here is just a research that is being done. The truth is, maybe, let's say, it's just a research in progress. You don't have the result. You don't have the result. So, but you need to write something on it and then be able to show your audience that, okay, this is what I'm doing. It's just more of, I am doing A, and B, C, and D, but I have not gotten the result. So that is acceptable in some context. Definitely not necessarily on most platforms, to be honest with you. But then there are some platforms that will allow you to share your research progress. So it means that you can potentially work on your aim, your introduction. You've been able to you identify the problem, you've identified the aims, and then these are the methods you have used. Then you can always talk about the result. But then one of the key things you want to make sure you do, especially if you are in that space, is for you to be able to highlight what you call expected results. And don't forget, you say expected. So it's not your result. So you can give a platform, maybe based on what people have done. These are the things I think I might be able to find. Or even if you're not saying the exact thing you're going to be able to find it, you can say, based on what you've done, you expect to have results in direction A or B. So it's just a way for you not to miss out in some opportunities. Some places there are actually you submit for proposal is not a full research. Proposal is just an intention. But when you are showing your intention, you must be able to show your aim, the goal of the study, and possibly the method. If you have done the method, I saw someone ask the question about methodology and method versus method. Methodology, in that aspect, methodology comes to play. This is how I'm going to do it versus I have done it and I have the result. So in that context, you may talk about the methodology. And of course, in the informative, it's like you have everything already. You have completed the result. So you are putting everything together and communicating it. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, we have
Thank
like
you so much, sir.
Anita and then Fatima. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Please, my question is on the abstracts. Please, you mentioned that there shouldn't be any form of references. So in a case where like you're stating a key finding from maybe WHO, like at the beginning of the background in the abstract, are you supposed to take it out or
You don't put a reference. You don't put a reference in abstract at all. So there is nothing wrong in saying, for example, it's been reported. Of course, you can say it's been reported by FAO that this and this, but you don't say according to, for example, you say FAO yeah, like you do the normal. I don't know if you know referencing. I guess that should be another session. So, but you don't do that. You don't do like, for example, something at all, something 2000 and like you don't do that in abstract. Of course, there's nothing wrong in saying, oh, according to FAO, this is this, that, and that. That is still acceptable, but directly inserting a citation. No, you don't do that.
Okay, thank you. Please, the last question is about the topic. So supposing like your topic is quite long, like the original topic, can you paraphrase it to produce the
Yes.
abstract?
That's why we talk about being concise. You want to make sure that you're communicating your title in a very, very short manner. In a very, very short manner. You don't want to have excessively long title. Some people will get pissed off, trust me, just by looking at the title. Some people will not even listen to whatever you have to say the moment they see your title. They say, no, I'm not gonna listen. This guy doesn't know what you do. So it's the first impression. Yes, we say your abstract is the first impression, but now your first impression has first impression. Let me put it that way. So somebody just looking at your abstract, looking at your title, not appropriate, they're not going to pay attention to you. You want to make sure that you write as short as possible. Yes, let it be informative, but don't let it be extremely wordy.
Tumbiko, okay. Can you speak? Did I pronounce
Yes,
it
hello.
right? Yeah. And tell us where you are calling in from, what country you are calling in from.
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello.
Hello, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Tumbio Kaunda. Yeah, my name is Tumbio Kaunda from Malawi.
Okay.
Currently, I'm doing a project on biochemistry and drug discovery. I'm very much interested in this session, and I've really benefited a lot. However, I have a question on abstract. Some supervisors would say do not include the abstract in the proposal, and some would say include the abstract in the proposal. So I want to understand which is right in this case. Should we include an abstract in the proposal or only in the dissertation?
In a proposal, you are not supposed to have an abstract. However, you can have something we call executive summary. So that is like equivalent to an abstract. But don't forget, we say an abstract is the entirety of your research, which includes results. But in a proposal, you have an executive summary, which is going to be able to talk about what you have in intention, as an intention in all the project you've designed. And of course, like I said in this current slide that you see, that's for maybe research in progress or a proposal. Now, because it's an executive summary, you can include an expected result. There is nothing wrong with that, but it is not called an abstract. It will be called either executive summary, it could also be technical summary. They call it different name, but it's not an abstract. But of course, in your research, you have to put an abstract. So for proposal, abstract, no, it has to be an executive summary. Why in your research, it has to be an abstract.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, I hope I answered your question.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Do we still have anyone? Do we have questions on the chat?
Yes, there's a question on the chat. For my research, I'm making use of all participants in that population. What would be my sampling? Oh my God, this question is... Seto, can you take this question? I mean, I feel like that would be another data analytics.
Is it the last question? I'm making use of participant in that population. What would be my sample technique? I think that would be based
Yeah,
on
that would be
your research. Definitely, I think there are enough fairness. There are different sample technique you could do. If it's a total population you're dealing with, you could do randomized sample. You can do. There is a multi-stage sampling. I think it's all one key thing you need to know is to identify your population. What is the population, and then what is the prevalence of whatever you are studying? So, for example, when I was working on it, when I was going to work on my master's, I looked at the population. The prevalence of E. coli, for example, let's say is 16%. So there's a way you have to calculate it to know the total number of samples you need from that population. And then, okay, I think it's even part of the question. How do you know your sample size? You need to know what the prevalence of whatever you're working with is in that location you want to use. And then that will now inform you to now use, I'm sure you know the sampling size calculation. I think it's power divided by prevalence and the rest.
We will have a separate
So,
section on that, yes.
okay, that sounds better. But definitely, I think you can figure out sampling technique based on your definition of what you think your population is.
Okay, thank you very much, Mav. I had network issues. So my question is under the mistakes to avoid when writing an abstract. You mentioned too much background, but I don't get that aspect. Thank you very much.
Yeah, like I said, what I said was that, for example, you're writing an abstract, you have 5 sentences as your background. That has taken over the whole content of your abstract. You don't want to do that. You don't want to overbore your audience with too much of information. Don't forget, you have maximum of 300 words. If out of 300 words, your background has taken 150 words, that's too much already, because what will you use to communicate your method, your result, and then your conclusion? So you don't want to do that. You want to be as concise as possible. You are not giving everything you want. You have everything. You're not giving everything you have rather to your audience. You don't want to do that. Does that make sense?
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
So I feel like because of time, I mean, one question on the chat box says, how do we avoid plagiarism? Seto, for the abstract. Plagiarism. That's a big...
Number one, whatever you can use ChatGPT to edit your stuff, but what you do, don't copy someone else's work. The truth is, there is no way you can get the same result that someone else has gotten, especially as far as research is concerned. Use what you've done. I got A, right? I got A. I got B. You don't copy another person's work to do that. I saw someone says, no abstract, no references in abstract. Yes. No citation. No, you cannot include citation. You cannot include citation in abstract. No citation.
Okay, thank you so much, Seto. This has been Can we just say thank you to our guest? He has spent a lot. I know he was very busy, so I really want to thank you for making our time on this, very busy Saturday for everyone. He's working and has a lot of things on his plate. But I feel like there are things he said that I feel like we should also take. Mentorship is very important. And we are begging you to please mentor some of the best medicine students here. Just guide them, I'm putting you on the spot, but yes, we have a lot of vet medicine students who have applied for this grant and opportunity, and I really appreciate if you could guide them through even reviewing their abstracts and also their paper. Hope that's fine.
I'm definitely glad. Definitely glad
Awesome.
to meet that.
Yes, thank you very much for this session. I feel this was a really great session, and mentorship is very important. Yesterday, after the call, I had a meeting with my mentor, and he gave me an assignment with an online course. And I can tell you, this morning before I woke up, I sent him the certificate of the course I did. He was very surprised. I just spoke to you yesterday. I was like, yes, I have to act on what he told me because I know it's for my benefit. So I hope that everybody here will be able to act on what Seto has said. He has passed through this process. He has, gone through it. And, it's funny, both of us are in the US. And when you apply for certain things in the US, you realize that you have to go back to your undergrad research, right? And the publication, that's why you have to publish. They will ask you when you're applying for EB1, EB2, you need all of these things. So this is foundational. And I hope that everybody will be able to, make sure you use this information in a very practical way. Thank you so much. We'll share the recording of this session with everyone. Yeah, have a great